Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 12, Episode 12. And when I tell you that Miss Garcelle Beauvais is clocking into work, and I'm here for it. She is slowly but surely finding her voice and letting these ladies know that they need to back off of Sutton and Erika's behavior is absolutely unacceptable. But let me not jump ahead. Let's just jump right on into this recap because we don't have a minute to spare. So we start this episode off right where we left off last week at Diana's boring Christmas party. And we see the ladies talking to each other. When I tell you I screamed because when Kathy Hilton walked over to Cherie, she was like, "Hey, so good to see you. How you doing?" And Cherie was like, "Well, good to see you too, but Kathy, I have to be honest, I don't think that we've ever met. This is actually our first time ever meeting." And when Kathy said, "Oh no, I always remember a face," I'm like, Kathy, you don't even know where your phone is. You don't even remember the names of your staff. You're referring to one of your housekeepers as the lady. Stop it. And if we're being honest, I don't think that Kathy Hilton is around that many of us. So she probably thinks that we all look alike. So everybody goes inside and we see that Asher is about to give them a performance and he starts singing "Oh Holy Night." I'm not going to hold you. I could not stop laughing during this part. You have Rinna sitting up there, fake crying. She's wiping away a non-existent tear from her eye. Asher's over there trying to hit all these high notes. He was on that mic straining to hit those notes. Oh, holy night. So between Asher struggling on the mic, Kathy Hilton and Rinna fake crying, now we have Erika in her seat and she's trying to sing with Asher. Now, regardless of how I feel about Asher and Diana, it's very rude to try and sing from your seat. Shut up and let the performer have the mic. It was just so obnoxious. And Erika sounded awful. I was like, girl, what are you doing? Now, I definitely thought that right here, Erika was drunk. Definitely, that was drunk folk behavior. I actually have a story for you guys. But yeah, she was drunk. And Crystal pegged it. She was like, she's drunk. She's definitely had too much to drink because this is very disrespectful. I love when Garcelle said, "I think that Erika misses the spotlight and that's why she's acting like this." I said, I agree. It's clear that Erika really does miss being on stage when she was a performer. Erika's also one of those people where she has to be center of attention at all times. It doesn't matter if it's somebody else's special day, special event, if it's their birthday, the attention always has to be on her. And that is very draining to be around somebody who can never just sit back and allow somebody else to shine. It can't always be about you. And she's lucky that Asher didn't tell her to shut the F up. Like, girl, I'm the one singing. I'm the one with the microphone, okay? My microphone is on, in the words of Prince.
I am a musician. I don't sample, you know. It's not Memorex. I go on stage and my microphone is on.
What? May I say that this Christmas party looks so dry and stale? Like, really? You have Asher singing, nothing else is happening. I don't know. For Diana to be so over the top and so wealthy, I just expected a lot more. But anyhow, Asher finishes singing, and we see Garcelle, Kathy Hilton, Erika, Rinna, and Diana go back outside. It was so funny because Garcelle was complimenting Kathy on her purse, and so Kathy says, "Oh, this old thing, it's an antique." And they were looking at her like, "Girl, what, an antique? It's only last season." She says, "Well, yeah, in Beverly Hills, that's considered an antique." So at this point, we see Erika go up to order another drink that she does not need. And now she sits back down and she addresses Kathy. She says, Kathy, please tell Paris that she looked beautiful at her wedding. And I'm so sorry that I couldn't attend any of the events because I didn't want to bring my shame and all my drama to your daughter's wedding. Now, Erika, it's the lack of self-awareness and the overinflated ego for me because fame-wise, Kathy Hilton, Paris Hilton, Nikki Hilton all trump you, okay? And I am pretty sure that even if you did go to the wedding, nobody would have been talking about you and your drama because the Kardashians were there along with a plethora of other A-list celebrities. So nobody would have been talking about you and your C-list behind at all. And Kathy was just like, yeah, girl, you know what? It's fine. Don't even think about it. At least you replied to let us know that you couldn't come. And I mean, Kathy was even looking at her like, I mean, sis, nobody was even checking for you. I only sent you an invitation to be nice. So now Erika starts sobbing and she's like, please tell Paris and Nikki I'm so sorry. And by the way, Paris looked effing beautiful. Kathy is disgusted by Erika's drunk display. So she excuses herself and she goes to sit with Garcelle, Kyle, and Crystal. So Garcelle says, look, Erika is out of control. She's over there drunk. Kathy chimes in and says, yeah, I mean, her behavior is not cool. You don't ever get that drunk and put yourself in a position like that. So now Kyle's like, well, cut her some slack, okay? She's trying. Baby, when Garcelle said, you can cut her some slack if you want to, but I'm not. And then she lets Kathy know that Erika cursed out her 14-year-old son the other day and how she was pissed about that. I don't care what anybody says. I am hopeful for this reunion. I think that Garcelle's going to tear them up because the way she was getting them together throughout this entire episode, I was here for it. Now, Kyle, had Erika cursed out one of your 4 daughters, especially Portia, since she is the same age as Jax, would you be talking about cutting her some slack? No, you would not. And I've been reading those recent reports about how Mauricio is tied up in that lawsuit now with Erika and Tom for selling them the Spelling Manor. It's making sense as to why you're going so hard for Erika because she probably has some dirt on you and Mauricio. I thought it was funny when Crystal said that Kyle's definition of being a loyal friend to somebody is backing them 100%. And I said, but that's not true because we see how she's done her other friends like LVP, Denise Richards. She's thrown them under the bus. Garcelle is also not off base to maybe have some concerns about Erika and her behavior. I think if anybody saw somebody in their friend group mixing alcohol and heavy medication together all the time, acting erratically, you would have some questions like, I wonder if something's going on, you know, do they have a problem? That's not out of the norm to question that. So for Kyle to act like Garcelle is reaching, that's a joke. Because if this were anybody else in their friend group, Kyle would have the same exact questions and concerns. So now we flip over to see Diana, Rinna, and Erika talking outside. And at this point, Erika is just so messed up that she's rambling about how much she loves Diana and Rinna, how much she's having a good time at the party. Then she says that Rinna's daughter inspired her to take care of her mental health and how she's on Lexapro along with 5 or 6 other medications. And I'm thinking, if you're on that many prescribed medications, you don't need to be drinking anything. Like, you need to be asking for lemonade, coffee, tea, a Shirley Temple, like a root beer flow at best. So Rinna's trying to get Erika to stand up so that they can go home. She keeps falling down. She's laughing while she's doing it. And now Garcelle walks over to say goodbye. And as she's saying goodbye, Erika's rambling about how much she loves all of them. And we see Rinna and Erika head on out the door. So Garcelle says that she hopes that everybody sees at this party how messed up Erika is and that she does have a problem. So now Diana and Garcelle start talking, and my first thought was, Garcelle, didn't you say that you have to leave? So why are you sitting up here having a conversation with Diana? But anyhow, Garcelle's telling Diana how much she had a great time tonight, how beautiful Diana's house is. And then Diana surprisingly apologizes to Garcelle for her deplorable behavior at her birthday party. Garcelle was nicer than I am because I don't know if I would have accepted that apology. And I would have questioned the sincerity of the apology too. And we see how nasty Diana has been towards Garcelle on Instagram as of late. So I mean, that apology didn't do a whole lot for me, but at least she did acknowledge that the way she acted was absolutely unacceptable. Now, let me just say this. I know a lot of you guys think that Diana is going to show up to the reunion, but I really think that she's not. I don't think that she's going to be able to handle all the backlash, Andy reading the viewers' questions towards her. And if you notice, she has not made her Bravo Clubhouse debut. We've yet to see her on Watch What Happens Live, and she's not even on the after show. So that's very telling to me. If she shows up, then I'll be shocked. But now we flip to a scene with Dorit and PK. They're at home, and it's some tension between the both of them because we find out that PK was at some business dinner and he got pulled over on suspicion of a DUI. But the even crazier part was he wasn't planning on telling Dorit this. So Dorit says that she didn't find out about this until the next day, and she was livid, and she's even angrier just thinking about it now. So PK says that when the police stopped him, he blew into the breathalyzer, and his limit was 0.081, and the legal limit is 0.08. Then he goes on to say that he was handcuffed, and that's the reason why he didn't call Dorit. So Dorit obviously looks like she does not believe what PK is telling her. And then he says that when he blew into the breathalyzer again, he was well under the limit, and so they let him off and gave him a ticket. So he goes on to say that since they let him off, he wasn't going to tell her. And then he says that there isn't a husband alive who wouldn't have done the same thing. So now Dorit says, but PK, me and you have always vowed to each other that we don't keep secrets, we don't lie to each other, and the only reason why you called me was for me to come pick up your car. So I remember Dorit saying that PK is a crybaby because he was wiping his eyes, honey. He was upset. Dorit wasn't having it. She was like, look, let this be the first and last time you ever try to withhold some information from me. Don't let it happen again. Now, while I was watching this scene, I was thinking, PK, you sound crazy to say that you weren't going to tell her. You guys are both public figures. Your wife is on one of the hottest reality TV shows. So you'd be a fool to think that you could just sweep this under the rug without Dorit knowing. I'm glad Dorit found out the next day because had she found out when the press dropped the news, you guys would probably be looking at divorce. Like, there's really no excuse, PK. I understand that you were nervous and scared, but you should have called your wife and told her immediately. And may I just add one more thing? I am extremely paranoid about getting a DUI. When I tell you guys, like, if I know that I'm going to have any drop of alcohol, I am not driving. Like, I am taking an Uber. I don't care if that Uber costs $200. Like, I'm just not getting behind the wheel. And this was like one of the first scenes this season where PK and Dorit did not discuss the robbery. But anyhow, I digress. So now we flip to the next scene with Erika at home. She has her creative director, Mikey, her brand manager, and her assistant with her, and they're going over her new hair extension line. Erika says that, she's worn every single piece of weave, wigs, you name it. So she thinks that her hairline is going to be very successful. Then she goes on to say how she knows what it is to have it all and then have it all taken away from her, and she's going to get it all back by this hair care line. I said, baby, you have bigger fish to fry than worrying about this new business venture. I mean, public opinion of you is pretty low. A lot of folks can't stand you, so I really don't know who's going to be buying this hair. Erika needs to be focusing on how to pay back these victims who were swindled out of everything that they have. That's what she needs to be focused on. So now we see Rinna come over and she's telling Mikey how Erika got messed up at Diana's holiday party. And I was actually shocked at Rinna holding Erika accountable for her behavior. So Rinna continues on by saying that Erika went through a terrible trauma. Her husband was not the man that she thought that she married. And then she goes on to add how she's dealt with this firsthand because when she was only 6 years old, her older sister passed away due to complications like this because she was heavily medicating herself. So now Erika's crying and talking about how it's so hard, but she appreciates them being honest with her, and that's what good friends are for. I said, well, isn't that something? Because when Sutton was trying to be honest with you last season, you cursed her out and called her everything but a child of God. When Garcelle was asking you questions about Tom, you snapped at her as well. But it's only okay when Rinna can give you some advice. Got it. And before anybody comes in the comments talking about, well, Rinna and Erika are the closest, I understand that. But if we're in a friend group and I see you unraveling, despite how close we all are, there is a level of concern and care that I should be able to say something to you because I'm looking out for you. Even if we're not the closest out of the group, it shouldn't be a problem to say, hey girl, is everything all right? Because, your behavior these past few months has been a bit strange. But I was like, it's just so funny how Erika's talking about, well, that's what good friends are for. And if people can't check you, then who can? And it's like, but you don't practice what you preach, Erika, because when other people tell you when you're out of line, you want to chop their head off. And if we're being honest, Lisa Rinna did not go that hard on Erika. Because I know a lot of other people would have said much worse to her. Like, you need to grow the F up and stop making an ass of yourself. But Rinna's so full of BS herself, it's hard for me to watch her trying to give advice to somebody else. It's like, girl, sit down. So now we jump to the next scene with Garcelle and Sutton. Sutton comes over Garcelle's house. They're having some girl talk, catching up. Remember that Sutton had COVID, so she's happy to finally be outside among some friends. So they're making small talk in the beginning about how they hope that 2022 was a great year. Garcelle says that she wants to be a better person. Sutton says the same thing too. She wants to work on herself. And then Garcelle brings up Diana's Christmas party. So she's telling Sutton about how Erika was pretty much shit-faced, just loose, tipsy, making a complete ass of herself. So Sutton says, look, I already said how I feel about Erika. I'm not saying anything more. Every time I open my mouth, I get into trouble, so I'm not saying it. I'll let you handle that. And I understand where Sutton was coming from, because it's like, look, if every time I open my mouth it's a problem, then I'm not going to say anything, because nobody has the time or the patience or the mental capacity to always be fighting with somebody about something. I was screaming because when Garcelle was telling Sutton about Asher singing, and Sutton was smiling from here to here, because remember that she's a slight crush on Asher. So now Garcelle starts asking Sutton how she's doing, how were her holidays, and Sutton says, look, I was home alone with COVID. Meanwhile, my ex-husband and our kids were in Italy. So she was super depressed about that. And then come to find out, her ex-husband's girlfriend was also in Italy too. So she was especially annoyed about that. I felt bad for Sutton because you can tell that she's lonely when she was like the failure of it all. I mean, marriage didn't work out. I'm divorced. And it was like, sis, why are you acting like because you're divorced and you're single right now, like that's the worst thing in the world? You're going to be okay. Like, you're on a hit reality TV show. You're rich. You have a great social life. I'm sure you will meet somebody else very soon. I loved how Garcelle was not here for that pity party that Sutton was trying to throw herself. She was like, girl, what's the failure? We're doing great. And I'm one of those people where I am very optimistic for the most part. I understand that some days or some months or some years are just messed up. And I'm all for when you feel sad, feel your emotions, right? I'm not saying to pretend like everything is just great when it's not. But you can't stay in that space. At some point, you have to get up, put a smile on your face, and say, things might not be great today, but tomorrow it'll get better. And me personally, when I'm in a bad mood, if I want to throw myself a pity party, I just do it solo. I don't like to include people in my mess. Because like I've said many times before on here, that my misery does not like company. And if I'm being honest, I won't even get in front of this camera if I'm in a bad mood. And Sutton saying that while she was sick, she was at home calling up every ex-boyfriend's number in her phone. I was like, girl, what? You still have their numbers? Why aren't they blocked? Sutton, I love you, but desperation is not cute. Now we move on to another short scene with Dorit showing up to Kyle's house, and they're talking about the whole mess with PK getting pulled over and it being spread across all the tabloids. So we learned that PK told Mauricio about this whole thing before he even told Dorit, and Dorit was upset about it, rightfully so. And then Kyle says the same thing, that when Mauricio found out about this news, he didn't even tell Kyle, and she was a bit hurt by it. Now, I'm thinking that's great that Mauricio and PK are best friends now, but that's not cool that they don't share that news with their wives first. So Dorit's so dramatic, saying that PK just loves Mauricio so much and how he would take a bullet for him. And Kyle says that she's happy that they're close, but it did hurt to find out that Mauricio didn't even tell her, and how she had to find out via the tabloids and the blogs. Now, watching this scene, the only thought that I had was, I just want to know, when exactly did the four of them become super tight? I just don't remember Kyle being this close to Dorit when Dorit first joined the show. But here we are, and they're now the best of friends and neighbors, so I guess. Now we jump on over to the next scene, and it is Sutton on her date with Sanjeet. Remember Sanjeet? He was the guy on Bumble that they had FaceTimed a few episodes ago. She likes him a lot. We learned that he's from Virginia. He went to law school in New Orleans. And then she says that he was on Jeopardy once. So baby, we find out that Sutton does a background check on everybody that she dates. And I said, I'm not mad at you, sis, because all these crazy people running around, like, I get it. Listen, I'm here for it. You can never be too careful or too safe, especially if you're a public figure of any sort. People out here pretending to be single and they're actually married, or they have felonies, or they might have a bunch of liens against them. So it doesn't hurt to do your due diligence and just make sure that everything is okay and that this person isn't crazy. And then when she was saying how she likes Indian food, but she doesn't like spicy Indian food. And I was thinking, well, girl, then you don't like Indian food then, because all of Indian food is spicy. I don't understand, girl, how you don't like spicy food. It's the best. No offense, but what's your definition of spicy? Because some people think that a little salt and pepper is spicy. But I thought the scene was cute. You can tell that Sutton likes him a lot. She was just so giddy and just so excited. And I think that he likes her too. They obviously have some chemistry. He's comfortable with her being a reality star. He didn't seem nervous in front of the camera, so that's always a good sign too. I'm wishing Sutton luck with her love life. It's apparent that she wants a man, because she said it about 5 times in her confessional that she does want a boyfriend. So now we get to the last scene of the episode, and it's Erika and Garcelle meeting up at a rooftop to catch up. Now, I died at this part because Garcelle was ordering her drink. I think she did like Casamigos. And so Erika was like, oh, I'm going to have some hot tea. Can I do some chamomile tea with some honey? And so the waitress says, oh, I'm sorry, but up here, we only do, cold drinks. Downstairs is where you go to get, teas and coffees. So Erika, without missing a beat, changes her order and orders a cognac.
You know what? It's too much.
So Garcelle's looking at Erika like, really, girl? You didn't even try. Like, you could have at least ordered a Shirley Temple. I said, Erika probably knew in advance that the rooftop didn't serve tea or coffee. She just did that to make herself look good and then said, okay, you know what? I'm actually going to have some alcohol. So Garcelle jumps right into it. She's like, okay, how are you doing, Erika? Because the last few times I've seen you, you were tipsy. And then Erika says, well, actually, I was blacked out. Then she goes on to say that it's because she's mixing her medicine with alcohol and how Rinna came over the other day and pretty much let her have it. So here comes the sob story from Erika about how she's struggling right now. She lost the house, the husband, the lifestyle, and nobody told her how to rebuild. So now the conversation changes gears and Garcelle goes on to ask Erika what she sees in their friend group. So Erika says that she's happy that Garcelle has Cherie in her corner because Sutton is a liability. Garcelle was looking at Erika like, come again, excuse me. She's upset by what she's hearing, and then she goes on to ask Erika, why does everybody in the group seem to have a problem with Sutton? And so Erika says that Sutton is the master of her own disaster and how Garcelle covers for her all the time, but Sutton is a big girl, she's a grown adult, and she can stand on her own 2 feet. I was just so confused by what Erika was saying because, one, how is Sutton the liability? Sutton was the only person in the group who offered you money when you were going through all your legal woes last season. Nobody else did. Sutton is the only one who's been honest with you. She's asked you questions to your face about what's going on, and you got angry at her because you don't want to talk about it. I don't understand how somebody who's been nice to you, upfront with you, I don't understand how she's the liability. You're the liability. You're sitting up here drunk, cursing folks' kids out. You're one of the most unstable people on this cast. And you seem awfully pressed at the fact that Garcelle's a good friend and sticks up for her. Because why does that bother you? Y'all just want Sutton to be all by herself with no friends, no allies, no nothing, no self-esteem. Like, you guys won't be happy until she's just begging you to be your friends. It's crazy. There is no excuse for why everybody guests on Sutton. And it looks like in the next episode, Sutton and Rinna go at it. It's just like, if you guys didn't have Sutton, then what would you guys have for a storyline? When I tell you guys that I am eagerly awaiting the Beverly Hills reunion, like, it can't come fast enough. Because I am dying to see what Kyle, Erika, and Rinna have to say for themselves. It's been nothing but BS from all 3 of them for these last 3 or 4 seasons. And I'm getting so tired of it. But y'all, that was my recap. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all later. Bye.